So the questions are these. How can we really activate the best of the private sector to meet the challenges of the real world? Is there a way to accelerate my career that doesn't involve boring online or classroom courses? And can I really impact people in the developing world with the skills that I have? Can I finally feel proud of what I know? Those are the questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Philippa White, and this is TIE Unearthed. Keep listening, and you can follow us on our journey as we show you how we're connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. Hello everyone, Philippa White here, and welcome to episode 8 of TIE's podcast. I am so excited to be speaking with Carter Murray today, who's the global CEO of the advertising network FCB. Today, we will be talking about leadership and what tools you need to lead in today's world. So hi, Carter.
Hi, Philippa. Great to be on with you.
I'm so excited to have you here. Now, I want to just bring you to life for our listeners because you're pretty incredible, and I think people need to know how just incredible you are. So Carter Murray is Chief Executive Officer of FCB, one of the world's largest global advertising agency networks. Now, Carter is based in New York, and he oversees the agency's 120 offices in 80 countries. Now, previously, Carter served as president and CEO of Y&R North America, and he's also worked at Publicis and Leo Burnett. And I worked at Leo Burnett as well, which is actually, I think, where you probably met our mutual friend, Harry McCausland.
Oh, one of my friends and mentors, yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I know that we're both very, very fond of him. So, big shout out to Harry, who is basically just amazing. So now you have been involved with TIE in the past, and before COVID hit, we were developing a new way of working together, but then basically the sky fell in and everything has been put on hold. But I know that you are a big fan of TIE, and we think very much alike, sharing very similar values. For example, the importance of celebrating on people's differences rather than their similarities. And this brings me to my first question. Carter, about a year ago, I was in your office and we were talking about the importance of cultural intelligence and diversity. And I left inspired. And I thought maybe you could just talk a bit about that and what we talked about that day.
Gosh, that feels like it was in a different era. So I don't know if I can recall exactly what we talked about, but
yeah.
We do talk a lot in the world about having IQ, and having EQ. But I think one of the things, and again, I'm not a big fan of acronyms, but here I am, talking them. But I have found, in life and in business, people that have CQ, seem to be, frankly, more interesting people, but also more effective people in how they work and how they communicate. By CQ, I mean cultural context. People that have been able, and I understand it's a privilege, but who have been able to work or live in more than one place. And get context to their lives in terms of who they are as an individual, who they are in terms of how they were raised, and then having different contexts of what right and wrong is from one culture to another to kind of work out who they really are and who they want to be in the world. And then what else did we talk about? Gosh, it was a long conversation a while ago, but
no, I mean it was basically this, and I know that diversity is very important to you, and you talk a lot about it publicly.
Yeah, Sorry.
No, go ahead.
There, I'm mansplaining you already. We're 3 minutes in.
Go ahead. It's you. I want to hear from.
No. I mean, it's really been It's been a strange year, right, with COVID and the whole world, for a period being united by being alone in homes. And, I would have said going into this year, I was proud of the fact that as an agency and as a leadership team, we'd made progress on many fronts, like in, gender equality. We do have in our global leadership team, we're almost 50-50 in some of our biggest operations around the world. We've done some really interesting things for women's equality in South Africa. We're partially owned by a trust that educates women and gives them free university education. And so, we've done all sorts of interesting things. To be clear, still a long way to go. And I think even on diversity in terms of people of color, we felt like we're making progress. And I think what we saw in America and just the incredible racism and the anger and just everything around that and what it incited and created made me realize, and I think a lot of people realize, that not only had we not done enough, we have to do things differently, and we have to, really do lots of new things fresh again. So it's tricky for me because I do really believe in equality and meritocracy and all of those things in the context that, I've grown up in probably privilege in every single quadrant you can imagine. And I thought we're making progress as an agency, but you see what's going out in the world and you see what's going on and you realize how much work there is still to do. And so I think one has to do that in an incredibly humble, contextualized way.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much to do.
Well, actually, that brings me to something else I wanted to ask you about, because things have changed pretty significantly since that last meeting we had. Oh, God. And, stating the obvious, COVID has shaken things up in so many ways. I mean, in so many ways. Do you think COVID has changed organizational culture? And when you look at how things are now, obviously from the point of view of people, everyone being at home and having to be virtual, but at the same time, that desire to work with other people and be able to work with other people, how have things changed? And from your point of view, how are things sort of changing? What does this look like?
It's a huge question, right? About life and business of the future. I mean, I know a month or two in, I was speaking to people and everyone said, you know what, human beings have short memories. It'll be over in a month or two and we'll all go back to life as normal. I think that the challenge is, what is it? People say it takes 60 days to develop a habit. And what are we, 180 days in or more in most parts of the world? So I think there are some things that will for sure change. I think we have seen, I can't talk for different industries but I can talk for ours, where we're a people-led organization. And our product, and our core of our business is our people is, we've been very blessed with a balanced client portfolio and frankly, an amazingly strong culture going into this. So, I think we will come out of this stronger. There's this irony we said in a Zoom call the other day, the longer we're apart, the closer we feel to each other professionally, because, we're dropping into each other's homes one-on-one, or in Zoom.
Yeah, totally.
Where the kids run, my children running in, and you have these human moments that I think, instead of being in boardrooms and suits, and I think there is a contextualization to that which is really important. We've seen, I've also seen some really interesting things. The person dialing in or videoing in was always sort of the second-class citizen in the room, right? Never really taken seriously if you weren't.
Yeah.
And I think there's sort of been, I call like a democratization of the meeting room. Everyone on the Zoom screen is the exact same size.
Because you're rather tall, so that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help me because my 6'7" dominating frame is totally eradicated. In fact, I met someone. When did I meet someone? I met one person here, at a distance. They said, "God, I didn't realize how tall you were." But I think the way that a meeting happens in a virtual world on video in screen and the way people can dial it, I do think there is in some industries and in some contexts, I think it's made it better. And then, of course, there are some things that have been challenging. We've been very lucky. We have some great clients and some great people, and so we've actually got through this, been able to get work out of the door. We've been able to pivot with our clients. We've been able to support each other and be there for each other. And I hope the silver lining of this, because let's be honest, people dying, the deaths people have suffered, and the illnesses is something that no benefit will be worth. But a small silver lining, I think, will be that when we do go back to the office, we'll have a deeper appreciation of being together.
And totally. And exactly what you're saying, I feel this just from the various conversations that I'm having. And when I think of, I know that you studied business, I did a business degree. And when I think of what we learned, I remember actually there was a time where people were chanting in the room, what's the main goal of business? And everyone, to make money. And I remember listening to that thinking, God, okay, yeah, of course we need to make money. I get that. But there was something missing. And when I think about it, it sort of feels like it was the heart and sort of the heart of business. And I feel like things have changed with all of this. And you were talking about sort of these meetings and the human nature of just people's families coming in, and suddenly you see the side of people that's more human, and the fact that there's been casualties as a result of COVID. It's not just casualties from not casualties, but how work has changed, but just how real everything is. And I feel like maybe the heart is coming back. That's how I feel, that the heart is kind of coming back, and things that might not have been maybe noticed before or important to people before now perhaps feels that it is. And I guess I'm just keen to know, do you feel that leadership has changed, or what you're looking for in leaders before COVID? Is it still what you're looking for now? Has anything changed, or what, are there different types of characteristics that you're looking for now?
I don't know if, I think you and I have talked about a lot. I think there's I've certainly observed the type of leaders I aspire to be like. I think there's sort of a very old-fashioned hierarchical command and control leadership versus one which is about really allowing people to be who they want to be, and creating a sense of purpose and direction that everyone feels they belong to. I suppose one of the things that surprised me, we did and I don't know if it's a personal lesson or welcome to the bleeding obvious, but it is counterintuitive when you're a leader in your position of responsibility and some authority within an organization. I did a global town hall which several thousand of our people tuned into at the beginning of COVID. And even now I keep telling the story and I still get choked up thinking about it. But I told this story about, we were talking about our Chicago team, our tech support staff, who had to go in, and that was the bit that was, really hard, as, all, the core company were able to be at home, but some people had to go in the office. And really at the height of the crisis in those early days, when everyone was just terrified to even open their door, let alone go out, these incredible people who work for us went in, and we had a supply of masks, and they just and safety equipment, and they literally took the bare minimum for themselves, and they walked down to the hospital and gave everything else to the hospital.
Oh my God, really?
And it was just such a, you're at home worrying about your family and your kids and your loved ones, and you've got people on your team who were acting selflessly. And maybe to people listening, it's not a big selfless gesture. I just thought it was rather special. And I told it in the town hall, and I lost it. I wouldn't say I cried. I'm still, a frat boy from Duke, so I'm not going to admit crying. But
yes, you did.
I did pretty much cry.
Teared up, yes.
And, I thought it was a moment when I should be strong as a leader and show strength and stability and calm, and which, by the way, we did. I think, we were very calm. And I think part of those early days of leadership was to be a voice of calm and stability. But showing that moment of vulnerability, I've never in my whole career had such an outpouring from people. I mean, when that town hall was over, I got emails and calls from India, Africa, America, receptionists, CEOs, people saying thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you for being human. And it was interesting when we did another town hall on diversity and racial equality and making sure one really tackles this racism head on. And I'd gone back in that meeting to being, I'm half German and Scottish, and I'm very let's get it, very sort of linear and getting stuff done, and I like to be decisive. And so in that meeting, I was like, I thought people quite rightly wanted to know what we're doing. So I'm like, here's what we're doing, and here's the action, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And Susan, my incredible creative and business
Susan, we love
she
Susan.
Came in, she's amazing, right? She came in and gave this speech on as, a woman who grew up in the South, who now runs a large organization, who lived in New York and Chicago, her personal story of how she was grappling with all of this and her own role and in society. And it got really deep. I mean, really deep. And she showed a vulnerability in telling her story where I actually then got feedback from a few people saying Susan was incredible. And by the way, why were you trying to be so strong and austere? And so it's a long way of storytelling to tell you, I think the biggest learning from COVID is that, leadership today isn't just about strength and stability. I think it's about listening and vulnerability.
Totally.
And being human. And I think we all need
empathy. All of this was empathy. It's sort of understand.
Yeah.
Sort of totally.
Yeah.
Totally. God, I couldn't agree more. And God, how inspiring those stories, because it's funny, isn't it? How when you are human and understand other people and just you putting yourself in the shoes of the individuals who were going and giving those masks to people at the hospitals, it's sort of course, really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I do think one of the things that's interesting in our industry is a lot, there was, with a lot of the consolidations that happened and the cost cutting prior to COVID, global meetings, people didn't invest in HR and training and things like what you do that are so valuable. And luckily I work, with Interpublic, who supported us in doing that. So in the previous 5 years, we've had global meetings. We met on a regular, our top creatives in the world met 3 times a year to work through the work. When everyone was saying, oh, everything could be done through an app or through a technology platform. And it has meant that when we've lived in this virtual world, there are deep-rooted relationships to get us through it. So it's not just, I think, this kumbaya, everything works fine through Zoom. I think there's been a payout for us of having invested in people and having invested in culture. And I think it's too easy now. People go, we have these apps and we can connect everyone. And I still think that equity will run out at some point, like that physical interaction and culture building is important to any company or human, frankly, society. So, that's also been an interesting topic I've had with friends.
Yeah. Well, just thinking about COVID and how things have changed. I mean, I'd love to know if there's what opportunities have unearthed in your world as a result of all of this?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start with that.
I know. And actually we could probably have sort of an hour.
We can have an hour.
I think people sort of be like, oh my God.
Yeah, no.
but I mean, just talk.
You mean in terms of from a business client perspective or from people?
No, I mean, any kind of story that stands out. I mean, from Ty's point of view, we've had to completely rejig completely. I mean, we've had to, so I just want on the top line.
I would say we've seen our best clients have told us that they've innovated in the last 5 months in a way that they would pre-COVID have taken 5 years. I think we have also pushed and adapted and accelerated ourselves, probably with things that I've been wanting to do. In this similar time span. I mean, in terms of, we have one client, major client. We went about a month into COVID, we went from brief to production of a spot, which actually looks like it might go in the Smithsonian as a spot to really show a moment in time of COVID, which is amazing, to on air. So this spot went from brief to produced to on air, briefed, and agreed on in 1 week and produced on air. And then within 1 week, it had 1 billion impressions. And we thought, God, that's kind of a benchmark. So we were kind of excited about it. And then 3 months later with the same client, we went to brief to produce to on air in 24 hours. And I'm not talking about, a cheap piece of content. I'm talking about a big piece of broadcast content. And so high quality. And so I think, some of the things that we've invested in, foremost are people, but also on the technology and the platforms, have allowed us to have now infinite production, to be able to work remotely. We did one piece of work was produced where the director was in, I believe it was the director was in Brazil, the producer was in New York, the CCO was in Chicago, and the team were in Tennessee shooting, somewhere like that. So I think our ability to kind of adapt and be faster and better and cheaper, and which everyone's asking for, is there. But again, the other thing that I found through COVID, without spending time on planes, is that we're going much deeper with clients, and so we're seeing us add more value at the C-suite level in terms of supporting them with all their initiatives, because we just have more time to spend thinking on that stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, I mean, that actually brings me to talking about TIE Accelerator, just because we've had to pivot and do things in a different way. And before, as you know, we had real life immersive experiences where people would go and physically be in various different countries, understanding life in a completely different situation and being able to draw on their abilities and seeing the world in a different way, developing their cultural intelligence and conscious leadership and self-awareness and all that kind of stuff, and then bringing it back. And obviously that's impossible at the moment until borders open up again, but the need hasn't gone away. And we also were thinking, oh my goodness, is it going to work? Being able to unearth insights and understanding of a world in a completely different part of the world. Syria, for example, life for people in Syria. How will we really be able to do that, virtually? And also, I'm so excited to see that, yes, it is possible, of course, using different tools, doing things in a different way, but, also finding that it does work. It's different, but it can also be equally as powerful. And actually, so just talking about sort of the launching of TIE Accelerator. So we are launching this program, which is finally a way for people to get involved with TIE without needing to be sponsored by their companies. And it's a chance for people to hone their leadership skills, to better lead in today's world while doing good. And it's an opportunity for people to work in an alien developing world environment from their desk and impact an organization and a community that really needs their help. And it is a test like no other, and something that people will always remember. And it's not boring.
I so respect and adore what you do. And I think, one of the harder conversations I've had, and I've had to have it with two or three places, and you and I had to have that conversation too, which is, we in that mid-crisis COVID mode, and, we still have to close this year out and see what happens with COVID, right? But, where it was, save every penny to save the jobs and to keep the business healthy, it's sort of hunker down mode. And so we couldn't invest in things like Tide.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to again when we can. But I think for you to have pivoted in the way you have and said, look, your employees and your teams can still go do this. And that we can support it in terms of allowing them to take the time off and to go and do it. And is super clever what you've done. And I really applaud it. And
thanks.
I just want you to know, I think honesty is also important in a crisis for people. And it upsets me that there are some amazing programs like yours that we haven't been able to sustain through this because we had to look and make those tough calls for our people first, which is kind of ironic, right? When it's then to invest in people. But
well, it's not though, because it actually totally makes sense. If you do need anything like this, needs to come at a time where people can actually invest the time to see how to get the most out of it. And Cindy and I have had so many conversations about that. The various different things that we've been creating. It needs to, if it's a corporate initiative, it needs to feed into the corporate. Just strategies. And during COVID, it was impossible. And I'll have to say, like, seriously, COVID was the worst thing that could have happened to us, but at the same time, kind of the best thing. And again, like you, I'm not, I've lost people in my family to COVID, so I'm certainly not saying that it was a great thing to happen. But if I look at us having to take the hit of this time not working with corporates, it was actually really good because it allowed us to be able to diversify and for us to be able to create
which is
something that won't go away.
Right? It was something you were working on anyway. So
yeah. Totally. And so I'm really excited because this won't go away. This will continue. And then we're already having corporates coming to us now, wanting to work with us. So it's great because we've got the individual offering, which is TIE Accelerator. And then we have our corporate offerings for when things start to kind of settle and companies like FCB can kind of start to slowly, when the time is right, kind of come back. And it just actually works out quite well. So actually, with that in mind, actually, I mean, is there any advice or thoughts or anything that you'd like to share with our listeners around these type of, experiences? Again, looking at how the pandemic has kind of changed the rules of the game. And now the kind of leadership, I mean, this is what I'm seeing. And again, I mean, maybe you have a comment around it, but sort of I see the kind of leadership that is needed now requires perhaps untapped skills that might not have been valued as much before around the things that we talked about: self-awareness, flexibility, leading from the heart, empathy to inspire and empower. And this is what TIE does, as you know, just having been involved with TIE, it unearths a lot of those values and skills and tools to be able to lead in a different way. I don't know if you have any kind of final thoughts around specifically this area.
Well, I mean, I can only talk from sort of friendships and people I respect and know who have enhanced their lives and changed their lives through changing perspective. And I think it's happened to me, moving countries and going to different places. And I think, what you do that is so amazing is that a lot of people, it's, like I said earlier on, it's a privilege. A lot of people, they have financial commitments, family commitments, personal commitments where they can't go and move to another country for a year or 2 years, and they can't go and do a life adventure because it's a privilege. And I think what you give people is sort of espresso shots, and be more than that, by the way, but perspectives to allow them to take themselves out of their comfort zone and out of sort of their perspective of what they've been told by themselves, by their own personal experiences in one place, and kind of realize and get perspective on such different cultures and people and problems and opportunities. And by doing that, I think it just makes you realize, one, how little you know, and secondly, who you really are, and thirdly, totally, more empathetic and appreciative of the world, and frankly, how to navigate the business world. And I think that can't be lost. Coaching, getting perspective on why I am who I am, how I can help other people, how businesses are run in different places, how cultures clash, all those things are so important. It's not just about the bottom line, as you said earlier. The bottom line is the end result, I think, of having people that get the first part right.
Totally. God, I couldn't have said it. That's amazing. Thank you. That's a really beautiful way of talking about this. I think I'll be quoting some of your. I'll be using you.
Way too nice with me, Philippa. But I did have some coaching when I left England, and way too much money was spent on it. Learning to say thank you for a compliment, because the British way. Please don't be silly, Philippa. Don't be silly. Harry, if you pay Harry McCausland a compliment, you'll get a 5-minute diatribe saying how ridiculous you are when his compliments are completely earned. The amazing,
completely earned. Oh my gosh, much more than that. He is.
He's a legend.
An amazing man. He is a legend. Now, Carter, to wrap things up, I mean, you're so busy doing so many different things. I just wonder, is there anything I haven't asked you, or can you tell us about what you're working on at the moment, what you're talking about at the moment, just to, leave people with some final thoughts?
That's so kind to ask. I haven't prepared for anything particular. I mean, it's really the consistent thing I always talk about, which is, we really, I got in this business to work with creative people. I really believe creativity, when used in the right way in marketing, in my world, can be an economic multiplier for clients that can make a real difference in the world. And so I'm continuing to bash that drum because I feel like too many people in our industry have walked away from it. And I feel passionate about it. And then I think it's really, our focus continues to be to try and do, great work for clients with people who I learn from every day. It's really not more complicated than that. And then everything comes off the back of that. Try and learn something every day. And I suppose my final thought that I love, that I try and live by as much as I can, is there's a guy called Adam Bryant who used to write a corner office article on leadership, and he's actually written books on it. And I was very lucky enough to be interviewed by him. I actually brought some money out at the end saying I owed him money for the therapy. But I asked him a few questions at the end, and I said, what is it about these leaders from you've interviewed? Because you always interview about them. Is it their background? Is it their race, their ethnicity, their religion? Is it a belief? What is it? And he said, no. The one thing that they all have in common is that these are all people that have squeezed every minute of every step of their journey, whether it's high school, college, or their first job, or their second job, or their marriage, or their children. And the other thing that they've done is that they're curious people, but they apply their curiosity. And I thought, wow, that's a whole meal I can eat for the rest of my life. That was pretty amazing. And so, I think as a business, as FCB, that's something we really try and do, is ask a lot of questions and apply our curiosity and be super creative in how we come to work and frankly work with our clients every day. So a bit of a diatribe, but hopefully that gives you
No, absolutely. We actually, with Ty, we talk a lot about be constantly curious to be constantly inspired. And that actually comes from one of Sir John Haggerty's.
Another legend.
Another legend. And he talks about do interesting things and interesting things will happen to you. And one of them is be constantly curious to be constantly inspired. So I couldn't agree more. Carter, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being so inspiring. One of the leaders that I am always inspired by whenever I talk to you, because I just think your values are so incredible, and anyone who works for you is very lucky. So thank you for being inspirational and being a true leader in my view, and for taking your time to speak to me. I really appreciate it.
I really value my time with you and really appreciate you inviting me on.
Good. Well, listen, enjoy the rest of your day. And give your kids a hug.
Thanks, Philippa. All the best. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Take care. Bye. Hey, everyone. This is Philippa again. So this is your chance to get involved with Ty. We have 3 absolutely amazing virtual opportunities available, all rooted in connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. Ty has never been more necessary than right now. So if you're looking for life-changing leadership development opportunities for your employees and you want your company to impact the world, we've got you covered. If you're looking to step out of your comfort zone and use your skills to make a difference and keen to meet other like-minded professionals with similar values, then our Ty Accelerator program is for you. There are so many options, so I urge you to get in touch. Go to theinternationalexchange.co.uk for more information or just shoot us an email. Better companies, better leaders, better world.